Hey, good
Hi,
morning, Andrea.
Tara. Hi, everybody. So I'll get us started. So good morning. Last week was International Women's Day, but we consider the month of March to be International Women's Month. So in this spirit, Tara and I are presenting on how women can take their place in the tech world as part of the CGI Women in Tech Career Lab. So Tara and I have prepared some slides, but this is pretty much just a conversation. So please join us with lots of questions as they come to mind, and we will answer them at the end. Okay, so we thought we would introduce ourselves, and then Tara and I had a conversation. We're like, should we introduce our professional selves? And then we thought, oh my God, that is so boring. So we thought we'd tell you more about ourselves personally, and then get into the career stuff a little bit later. So I'm Andrea Borley. I live in Edmonton, Alberta. I have two kids. I've got one who's 23, a girl. She's a maternity nurse. And I've got a 19-year-old son who thinks he's going to be the new leader of the free world, but he's only second year university, so we'll see about that. I love yoga. Yoga's my thing. I love cruising. I see that as my floating hotel. I immigrated from England when I was 11 years old because my dad was a professor at the university. We immigrated in February, and I just about turned around and went home because it was too cold. But we've stayed. We've stayed. I'm very optimistic and by nature and extroverted. I love being with other people. So COVID just about killed me. As soon as CGI let us back into the offices, I think I was the first one here. Tara, over to you.
Thanks, Andrea. So, Tara England. Hi, everyone. So pleased to be here with Andrea and chit-chatting about our experiences and highlights of our career journeys. But on a personal level, I would like to share a little bit about myself so you can get to know me before we get into some of the more professional aspects. So right now I live in Victoria, BC with my husband. I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son and a dog named Henry. And we've lived here now for 2.5 years, but it still feels kind of new. And we're still adjusting and really, getting used to this new place that we're living. I really love the outdoors, love getting outside, hiking, biking. I love going swimming, love being in the water. Really have been enjoying now exploring the island. And the geography here is just so rich. It's really, I feel very spoiled and privileged to be here.
You are, Tara.
And,
Older in Alberta.
And one great thing about being here is I'm taking up gardening. And you know what? I don't know if I have a green thumb, but the climate here supports me and things here just grow so naturally. So gardening is going to become one of my personal passions. And I know I'm going to succeed because of the climate. But really, I was born and raised in Alberta my whole life. Again, just 2.5 years. Me and my family have been here over in Victoria. And I grew up on a farm. So when I think back to my childhood, it's colorful. It was very simple. We played outside in the dirt, around the farm, in the forest, me and my sisters, and just have a very happy memory of childhood being so simple and outdoorsy. I remember, when TV still had three channels, channel 3, 5, and
Oh, I
13.
remember that. I remember that.
I also remember when, things happened, like Double Line came out. And I remember when our family got our first cordless phone. And as you can imagine, when that happened, I spent hours with my best friend Mandy, going room to room, moving around our homes, playing Guess Which Room I'm In Now, because we were so taken with, the ability to not have to be stuck to the wall with your phone attached by a cord. So from humble beginnings, I would have never imagined that, I would have found so much fulfillment and empowerment working in the IT professional environment. And I think that's why, like Andrea was saying, we're really excited to share kind of how our personal stories, how we've evolved, how we've come to be women in tech. So in saying that, what we're going to be discussing and sharing today is going to be things like uncovering our career journeys, entering the tech world. What about staying curious and continuous learning, and what learning opportunities that we have at hand? And then talking about something that I think everyone who's joined this session is very interested to hear about is addressing career interruptions. So I'll turn it over to you, Andrea.
Thanks, Tara. So we thought we would just tell you a little bit about our career journeys. I think you might be starting to get the idea that we aren't from tech backgrounds, which we're not. So I think the message that we're giving here is that you don't have to come from a tech background to be successful in technology business. So for myself, again, I immigrated from England and I was not into sports at all. So ended up in high school. Theater was my thing. So I went through University of Alberta for my undergraduate and did a big piece of the theater while I was there. When I finished school, so my undergraduate, there were no jobs, none. It was a recession that we were in. And so I ended up as a wedding planner. And I did that job for about 5 years, and I was really good at it. It was an interesting job. It gave me lots of skills that I still use in the work that I do now, believe it or not. So after 5 years, I went back to university. I did a master's in business, and when I finished my master's in business, I thought, okay, I'm going to get into the corporate world instead of hospitality. So I ended up in banking because my husband's a banker, and I was the worst banker there ever was. It was a horrible, horrible experience for me. So I just quit. That was it. I knew it wasn't the way for me to go. So before was going to start my next career, I decided I need to really investigate what there was out there for me. And so I ended up doing what I called information interviews. And this is where I would go and meet with my very small network of people and ask them about their job. So I would tell them I wasn't asking for a job. I wanted to know about their job. I wanted to know what they did in their day, if they actually liked what they did, what were the experiences that they needed in order to get into the jobs that they were in. At the end of each of those interviews, I would ask them, can you give me another name of someone that I could talk to, and for an information interview? And so on it went. So I met the most interesting people. I met a radio station producer, a car salesman, a trainer for a large construction organization, an author, but I can guarantee you I met no bankers. And so after about 50 of these interviews, I decided that management consulting was really the place that I wanted to go. I built up, no joke, about 100 people in this network over about 3 to 4 months because I was working very hard at it. And I started asking for work specifically in the management consulting area. So I finally landed a job with a really small management consulting firm here in Edmonton that was willing to take the risk on me. And as soon as I landed that job, I knew I had found where I wanted to go. So for the next 6 years, I spent working for this small management consulting company. And then eventually this management consulting company, because we were very successful, was acquired by CGI. So I've been at CGI ever since. And while at CGI, I've had a number of different roles. Obviously, I came in as a management consultant. Then I worked as a business analyst. And then I realized that I was really good. I'm quite an organized person, and I was really good at spreadsheets. And I was obviously good with people, so I could manage people. So I ended up as a project manager, and I did that for 12 years. And obviously did it well. And so then CGI moved me into a director role where I actually managed other project managers. And then I did that for about 5 years. And then 2 years ago, they moved me into a VP role here in Edmonton for CGI. And I'm still learning to do that job. So, Tara, all yours.
Yeah, definitely. That is so interesting, Andrea. So for me, I'm similar in some of these natures where my grassroots, really aren't in IT specifically. Really, my background is, really strong in customer service, things like quality assurance, training and development. Um, just changed my slide here. And I remember when I started working in the healthcare IT space and how much it opened my eyes. The first role that I had was a coordinator role for a program that was helping support physician offices to implement electronic medical records into their practices. So from paper charts, moving it into an electronic EMR. And the capability that technology brought in that aspect was so far reaching, and it was a provincial endeavor, and I could see the significance of that, and it really intrigued me, and it really got my attention. So I continued to pursue other roles in the health space, just knowing the impact that it would have across the province for Albertans, myself being an Albertan, and being a patient and a citizen of the province as well. Um, I think that for me, and as you can see here, I've worked in some different professional settings like contact center environment. And that was really, I think, my first professional environment where I started at the entry level in a customer service role and then pursued roles to continue growing in that organization. So from, being a customer service representative, I pursued a role to do quality assurance. And at that point, I was using cool technology to monitor and do quality assurance on customer service agent calls and providing that coaching support and feedback. And then from there, I pursued a training and development specialist position where I was then the trainer for a group of 30 adults in a classroom setting for 6 weeks, training people to become the customer service representatives. That was my initial role joining that contact center. But since, of course, I've worked for document management companies, and then my last couple of career roles have been in the health space in different capacities. Here at CGI, as a director, I have an operations manager project role, and currently, working to help support provincial e-health initiatives that support providers and Albertans. So I think that for me, it's building that knowledge in those operational roles as I continue to grow and learn. It was that product knowledge that really helped me excel and be successful in the next roles that I've been growing into, and gave me that capability to take on more responsibility and more leadership roles in my work. So you know with other things that I've done professionally to continue sharpening the saw, like getting change management, the ProSci, getting my PMP, has all helped support me being effective in this IT space as an operations manager. But it's really coupled with the in-depth knowledge of the systems, the technology, the processes, and the program that's really helped me excel in really significant ways working in the IT space. And again, I'm not specifically certified in, CRM or things like that, but having a good working knowledge of all of the tools, technologies, the systems, the processes has really accelerated me in my career in the IT space. And it's exciting, and I'm having fun. And I think that's something that Andrea and I both can agree on is,
We
you know,
can.
and we're going to get into that a little bit more,
Yeah.
of course. But in saying that, that's a little bit about my career journey and how I've come to be in tech. Um, Now we're going to quickly touch on entering the tech world. But the good news is we're already here. We are all here in the technology world. There's just no way around it. What I like to think about when I look at working in the tech space is my skills toolkit. What are my essential base layers? And I think for each of us, and I know at CGI, when I coach and support my members, I talk about having your base layers. There are some essential IT consulting skills that we should just have, and we do have as CGIers. And as part of that, things like utilizing Microsoft programs. Andrea, you mentioned you're really good at Excel. Excel is so powerful. It's smarter than us. And the capability that Excel, provides as a platform with managing data or tabulating data so that we can do other technology driven things with that data, it's enormous. For example, taking data in Excel and putting it into Power BI and creating really strong data visual aspects of that data more so maybe what Excel can produce. So in addition to that, and having some tangible working skills, using systems technologies effectively, interpersonal skills are paramount. And I think in all the workplaces, yeah, it's how are you working with people? Are you a good communicator? Can you get your thoughts and ideas? Do you listen? Do you respect and remain professional in challenging situations? And projects can get challenging. And then the mindset, being curious and focused, having that can-do attitude. What more can I do? I think I've heard servant leadership as a key phrase, and it's really looking to support those that you work with to be their most successful selves. Therefore, helping again just that team collaborative environment and the success. But on top of having your base layers, going out on a hike, you've got your base layers. You're in the tech world, you've got that. For each person, I always like to coach that you should think about and pursue building what you want to be a professional superpower. So what is it that's unique about you, or your specialized skill set that's going to bring high value to your workplace, to the industry, to yourself, and that is going to be driven based on your values and your interests, on what you want to do there. And so for me, I said, well, I love change management because the only constant is change. So getting ProSci change management certification made sense. And to be honest, oh, it just talks to so many things in our personal lives as well. And then the project management piece. So, working in a large project that has multiple provincial stakeholders, technologies at hand, and, serving again, providers and citizens, project management, is an essential skill. And do I try it at home? Yes. Is it effective with my kids? No, not always,
No,
but in the
no.
workplace, it definitely is. um, and I'll turn it over to Andrea because now that we've kind of talked about um, the things to think about, how do you get there? And Andrea's got some really wise and insightful things about how to get
I don't
there.
know if they're wise and insightful, but this is I harp on this all the time. So careful, I'm going to about to get on my soapbox. So here we go. So I'll quote Pat Riley, basketball coach. He said, "Anytime you stop striving to get better, you are bound to get worse." So what's the message here? The message is learn what you need to learn so that you can work in an excellent fashion. And what does that mean? It means you can never stop learning. So I'm going to repeat that because it's really important to remember you cannot stop learning. So identify the key skills that you think can help you to achieve better, faster results. Figure out what your core competencies are that you will need to have a future in your field. So whatever they are, you're going to set a goal, make a plan, and begin developing and increasing your ability in those areas. So now you're saying, well, Andrea, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you need to do one thing really important. Decide right now that you're going to be the very best at what you do. The very best at what you do. So you need to focus on, this is just my advice. You need to focus on the areas where you think you have special talents that you really enjoy. Tara and I are talking about having fun at work. It's because we've figured out what our talents are and how we can enjoy being at work. Because once you've done that, you're going to unlock your potential. So for me, an example would be I'm really good at presenting because I did the theater for so many years. I like being with people because I'm outgoing and I'm extroverted. I'm good at facilitating meetings. I'm very organized, so I'm good with spreadsheets. Now I'm going to take all those skills that I know I'm really good at. I'm going to grow those skills and I'm going to figure out how to apply those skills into the workforce. So once you've figured out what you can be good at, now you have to get really good at it. Because the better you are at the task, the more motivated you are to launch into, and the more energy you're going to have and enthusiasm you're going to have, and go figure, you're going to get successful. So what you got to do once you figured out what am I good at, how can I apply it to the workplace, create a personal plan for yourself. And on that plan, you want to identify the most important things that you need to do. And then you need to continually upgrade those skills in those areas. So if I'm really good at facilitation, then I need to figure out how I can take courses, how I can learn more about being a facilitator, because I'm only so good. But if I learn some more, I'm going to be excellent at it. I'm going to be the very best at what I do. So 3 things that I've done over the years to help me with this: read in my field. So every day for at least an hour, sometimes half an hour if I don't have time, I've got a book, I've got a magazine, I've got something that will help me to become more effective and productive in what I do. That's number 1. Number 2, take courses, seminars to help you with your key skills. So attend conventions, business meetings, go to sessions, go to workshops. Be that person that sits in the front of the room and takes the notes.
It's
Dedicate.
cool when you're an adult. Maybe it wasn't
Oh,
in school, but it's cool now to sit in the front
yeah,
row,
you can
right,
sit in the front.
Andrea?
You're right. You can sit in the front. You can be the keener because this is about you. This is about you growing. And so what other people think, who cares? Dedicate yourself to becoming one of the most knowledgeable, competent people in your field. The third thing, and this is really what has helped me to grow as far as learning is concerned, is audio programs. So put audio programs in your car. So the average car owner sits for, I think you spend 500 to 1,000 hours, no joke, in your car each year. You're driving to work, you're driving your kids to basketball, you're going to the grocery store. So while you're in the car, turn your driving time into learning time. Make your car your university on wheels, and that carves off that piece of time where that's what you're going to do. You're going to learn about whatever it is you want to learn about. So what's the rule? Continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. The more you learn, the more you realize you can learn, and then from there, there's no limit. There's no limit to how far you can go.
But Andrea, what
So,
if I just don't want to?
oh, well. Okay. So as you can imagine, I preach this to my staff, and sometimes they get tired of listening to me. And so I just wrote down some of my favorite objective things that they've come back at me. It costs me money. I don't have time. This topic doesn't interest me. One of my world's favorites, my library card has too many fines. Or learning is boring. So these are just examples of objections, maybe that are already in your head. But remember, you've got to invest in yourself. Go to the courses. Go, instead of buying that pair of shoes, buy yourself a course this month. And if it's too expensive, use the library. And the library is a tool that I use every single day. The library's got books, audiobooks, webcasts, newspapers, magazines, but they also have people. So you can go into your branch. You've got it's all internet, so you can do everything virtually now. But they actually have people that can help you research. So if there's an area that you want to learn about, go to your library. And you know the best part about a library is it's free, even if you have fines. They'll forgive your fines. I promise. I promise. So learning new things is very exciting. This is a window into a brand new world that you probably know nothing about. So I've finished preaching, Tara. I'm all done. That's continuous learning. Oh, no, I'm not. Here's some outcomes of continuous learning. Um, when you learn new things, what happens to you? You can learn new technologies. You can learn new methodologies. An example of new methodologies would be right now in our world would be project managers are learning to be scrum masters. So they're taking their skill sets and they're learning a new agile methodology to deliver project management in an agile world. What happens? They get to solve new business problems. They get to keep their clients happy. And what happens when your clients are happy? They refer you to other clients. So I'm going to quote CGI here because we are CGI. What gets measured gets done. So you need to place focus on continuous learning, be intentional, execute the plan we talked about. Because if you don't set a plan, you'll never achieve a personal best. You won't. So I'm going to pass it to Tara. Part of looking at these skill sets that we're talking about is you need to know what's happening in the world. So Tara's going to talk about IT markets and trends.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So all this continuous learning, it's really getting me in that vibe of, being so engaged and thinking critically about, what do I enjoy to do? What are my strongest skill sets? And using that to inform, what you want to learn and how you want to build and grow. And as part of that, I think we all realize that, yes, we need to be in touch with what are the IT market needs at that time. And with the rapid pace of technology, from back when I was a young person, no cell phones existed at that time. I'm dating myself, but we realize, and especially over this last 10, 20 years, how rapidly technology has changed. So it's really important if you want to be in the IT space to know what the market trends are in your industry. And there have been some new, things that have come up, like who hasn't heard of artificial intelligence? Who hasn't heard of Chat GPT and the wave that caused when that came to be and became available. I know I had a friend who wrote me a poem using Chat GPT, put in a couple keywords, and the poem that Chat GPT came out with was so personal. I felt so touched. It was created by AI. It wasn't even created by a person, but that's how good it is. So, in just looking at the AI example, it's opened the door now to new roles in IT that that really weren't there before, like AI researcher or data scientist roles, AI engineer, ethics consultant. I know privacy and security is always top of mind, as we look at IT or as our clients are utilizing IT to get the jobs done. And in our project, we really look at privacy by design as an approach so that it's not just an afterthought, it's at the onset of a new implementation or a new technology consideration. It's monitored and measured and out throughout the implementation and then ongoing. It's not just something that you think about after. So IT market needs can change. And there's been some other really cool roles that I've seen come to the surface in IT over these last 3 or 4 years, like UX design, human-centered design. It is playing such a front runner role to now how things are done in IT because the human element. And it's just so powerful, and it's creating interesting opportunities in the IT world that maybe aren't, you're not a core developer, for example, somebody who's in a technical role. So as part of technology trends and IT market, what are technology trends? Well, really, it's advancements that are happening in the world of technology, and technology changes the way we live, changes the way we work. It's really a driver for what we're doing, and even how we live. I know for me, one example is online grocery ordering. Been doing that for years now, and it has saved me and my family so much time and extra effort to be able to do meal planning, use an online ordering system, and just go pick it up. So little things like that are just now regular and day to day are definitely impacting our lives. And staying abreast of these technology trends, it helps keep us nimble to know which direction to set our sails because everything is continuing to evolve so quickly. It'll help you make more informed decisions on where you want to go. For businesses, for our clients, it helps improve processes and opens up the doorway for more growth. So in just saying that, at a high level, we're feeling so inspired about continuous learning, building our specialized skills toolkit, networking, keeping up with IT market needs and trends, all of that stuff. I think the next thing that we should do is bring career interruptions to the top of this conversation. And I think this is a really interesting one. Andrea and I, as we've been planning for this presentation, this is it hits home for us, literally. Hey, Andrea, hits home.
We can both relate.
You betcha. It's and we do recognize, life events don't just impact women. It's a human thing. We have life events. We are humans. And it can be planned or unplanned when you have a career interruption. But we also do really recognize that it's very common for women to have a career interruption, when children are born, as one very tangible example that Andrea and I have both personally been through. So I wanted to share a little bit about my experience. So when my son Walter was born, I took 8 months of maternity leave back in 2018. And it was wonderful and beautiful and challenging. All of that comes a part of, making a change or shifting or pivoting and prioritizing your focus somewhere else. But there were some things that I did that I wanted to share that I think really helped me. And it kind of, into 3 stages. So I knew I was going to leave the workforce. I knew I had to. It was my plan. It was my purpose. And so I started preparing for that. So I made sure that I had recognized, with myself, what are my current values and interests? And I made sure to record this actually. What are my skill sets? What do I feel the strongest in right now for my professional attributes? I looked at my resume, my LinkedIn profile, all of those types of, professional brand aspects, and made sure that they were crisp, current, up to date from where I sat at that moment, before I was, going to be stepping away from work. And then that way, it actually helped ease my mind that, when I was going to come back, I would have a basis, a platform to start from again as I, re-engaged to come back to work. So that made me feel good. While taking a break from work, I just want to say, you have to be present. You have to, be present in those moments. And, maybe you have a career interruption, you're taking care of a family member or a parent, or, maybe it was something that, wasn't as pleasant as a new baby coming into the world. But you do want to be present in what you are prioritizing your focus on. But going back to, all of the things that Andrea's been mentioning about learning and stimulating your mind and, being proactive and staying engaged, you can still do that and highly encourage it. I think that um, we are so dynamic as women. Um, we need to keep flexing those muscles and,
We do.
learning and keeping our minds, broadened. We're not just one thing. We have many roles in being a woman, and we need to continue to keep ourselves stimulated and building on skills, even when we are taking a break from work. So I was very present, I just want to say, when I was away on my maternity leave. And I'm so glad I was, because we know those precious moments and stages only last so long. But when I was coming back, so, the month or two before returning back to CGI, I started to prepare mentally and emotionally. I think that's something that women can relate to is, it's a big change, and it takes a lot of strength to be able to reprioritize and get your life set up to go back to work. Um, but you can go back to what you had set aside and recorded before you went on your break from work. And for me, I looked back at, what job role I was in the project. That changed when I came back to work. I stepped into a totally different role. But because I had documented, my current skill sets, my values, what I felt like I was really strong at, um, I was able to use that to feel confident stepping into a new role, more confident, just having that foothold and being assured of what value did I bring, what are my qualifications and my skill sets and my experiences on the project. So another really important thing would be, look back to your network, start reaching out to people in your network. Like Andrea said, making sure that you're staying in tune with your learning and networking. And she went out and asked, a whole bunch of people for feedback on their jobs, not for a job, but on their jobs, and hearing different people's experiences and their jobs and what they like or don't like. It's really insightful. And Andrea, that's cool. You use that to help drive where you wanted to go. And you didn't interview any bankers because you already
No,
knew.
I knew I didn't want to do that, and I live with one, so I knew I didn't want to do that job.
um, so, so in saying that, looking at your network, starting to reconnect with people, really important, to look at your workplace or within your industry, who would be a good mentor? And is there someone that's in a role that could be your sponsor? And I know this sounds really good, but what is the difference between a sponsor and a mentor? So I'm going to pass it back to you, Andrea, to open the door on this one.
Sure, sure. I mean, I'm just going to repeat a little bit of what Tara's saying, because I think we're speaking from the same experience, and that is that when you have to leave the workforce, and both Tara and I have had to do so, myself for well, when I quit banking, as well as when went back to school, had my kids. So when you're leaving the workforce, it can be really, really scary, and we've all had to do it. It's taking care of children, but it could also be taking care of a family member. There could be medical reasons why you have left the workforce. It could be to go back to school and retool. And we're certainly seeing at CGI more and more women who are retooling in IT and coming as kind of brand new developers. And this is their second, sometimes third career. Cool. We also see, I was going to say the other option is just to see the world. And doesn't have to be a reason why. It doesn't have to be a necessary reason why you leave the workplace. So the list can go on and on. For myself, I dropped to 4 days a week for about 15 years while my kids were little. Why? Because my family was the priority. They grew up sort of, and so now I have more time for myself, and I'm focused more on what I want to do. So whatever the reason is that you had to leave the workforce, it doesn't really matter, and you need to know that it is absolutely okay. And when you return into the workforce, you will be fine, and you will find your way back, no problem.
And be excited.
And be excited. Hopefully, you come back with kind of fresh eyes, and you can add a whole new perspective on things. But what you do need to think about when you're going to re-enter the workforce, and again, I want to repeat what Tara said. While you're off, whatever the reason is that you're off, if you're traveling the world, if you're taking care of a little one, that's your focus. Not returning to the office, not staying in touch. Just focus on the reason why you're off. But when you're starting to come back to the office or starting to think about interviews, you probably want to start focusing. And I've just got a couple of slides to kind of help guide you. And one of them is around networks. So that's this slide. So with networks, it's really keep those networks. It's so easy to do now with LinkedIn. It was a lot harder before LinkedIn, but you keep your fingers on your network. So when you're either interviewing to come back into the office or you're now back at work, there's two people that you need in your life, and you really do. If you want to be successful, you need a sponsor and you need a mentor, and the two roles are very different, so you need both. They can be one person, but not usually. A mentor is someone who's giving you guidance, advice, personal development. It can be an experienced colleague, it can be a supervisor. It's somebody who is focused on your individual growth, helping you build skills. They're giving you career advice. Mentor is also somebody who you can go to for emotional support. You know, I got two kids at home, a dog and a husband. They're driving me crazy, and I don't know how to prioritize work. That might be something that a female mentor can really help you with and say, man, I remember those days. Here's some of the things that I did to make it better. So that's a mentor. A sponsor is different. A sponsor is someone who's interested in your career advancement. It's generally somebody who is a senior leader in your organization. Maybe it's an influential person in your organization, and they are an advocate for you. They will open the door for you, connect you to opportunities, and vouch for your potential. So you may be saying to yourself, well, you know, how am I going to ask somebody to do these jobs? Well, mentoring here at CGI, we have a formalized mentorship program, so it's already there for you. But remember that all the, you know, myself included, anybody, and Tara, I'm sure as well, anybody who is successful in their role didn't get there by themselves. We've had mentors and sponsors who have done this for us. So pretty much there comes a time when you're now successful where it's time for you to pay back or pay it forward, as they say. And just remember that when you ask people for their help as mentors and sponsors, they may be feeling that. I certainly do. Where, you know, it's time to pay it forward and do for others what somebody did for me. It's just your leg up. So that's
Yep.
mentors and sponsors. So the next one was a little harder, but and again, it's a CGI thing. Um, so I'll try and explain it, but this is really about return to the office, and I'll explain why. So this slide shows CGI's three stakeholders. We sometimes call this the three pillars. It's part of our management foundations. It's part of who we are at CGI. So from a company perspective, we've got three. We've got clients, we've got members, we've got shareholders. These are the pillars that we prioritize at CGI. And the reason for this picture is to remind us as CGIers that we need to be well-rounded individuals where we contribute not just our business and our technical expertise, but we also contribute to company culture, and we also contribute to company growth. And as you can see in this picture, each pillar is valued the same. And I think that's really important to think about. So from a client perspective, that's the obvious. How do you bring value to your clients through your business and technical expertise? Do you meet your clients' needs? Do you understand what their problems are and give them solutions? Do you build relationships and trust with your clients? So that's a gimme. But the other two, I think it's really important to think about. One is member, and member refers to company culture. So how have you contributed to CGI culture this year? Were you an active member of your team helping others? Did you share your specific knowledge with a larger group that might be interested in what you know? Are there activities that you do outside of your current environment, like help with corporate social responsibility, with the social club? And then the last pillar that CGI looks at is shareholders. And so this is, how have you contributed to CGI's financial growth? How have you helped CGI grow this year? And so we're looking for our members to show us opportunities where they've done that. We know as CGI, we're people, right? We're a people company. And so we are at space. We're also shareholders in the company. So that makes us stakeholders. So again, how does this apply to return to the office? It really does. It speaks to the importance of being a well-rounded individual, because organizations like CGI, and trust me, it's more than just CGI, value those traits. So when you're preparing for the workforce and you're preparing for your interview, you need to reflect on these three pillars or something similar and how they might apply to you. How have you achieved equilibrium in your life? And we've just talked about we're busy, we've got dogs, kids, all the rest of it. How have you stayed a well-rounded individual? So some examples might be, what are your professional attributes? What skills do you have and are they current? So that's your continuous learning piece. How have you contributed to the community that you live in? So do you volunteer for the food bank? Do you manage your daughter's swim team? Do you belong to a community organization that does good works in your city? How do you help grow the stakeholders in your life? Stakeholders for you, if you're not in an organization, might be your family, your social network, your friends. How have you helped them grow? So
That's
again,
what I was thinking. It's like work-life balance and creating your equilibrium, focusing on your priorities, and again, making time for your priorities. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. CGI, and I can only speak for CGI, is looking for those well-rounded individuals. If we just wanted somebody who could service our clients, we would hire subcontractors, but we don't want that. We want the whole person to come to CGI. So when you're interviewing, so these are just thoughts when you're coming back into the workforce, what makes you a whole person, and why would I, as an employer, be interested in hiring you into our organization? It would be because you do a lot more than just code. You do all these
Absolutely.
things. So that's it from me. I think we're ready for questions. These are just some fun quotes that we put together, things that we care about. Tara, do we want to close down the screen and then just answer questions?
Yeah, I think we'll leave this up. We've got some questions in the
Okay.
chat that we're going to work through in our Q&A. And I see the first question here is, what advice would you give an immigrant woman with 20 years of experience in the IT sector, but new in Canada? So what do you think, Andrea?
We've got we have so many women that fit this picture that work for CGI. Um, uh, don't see yourself as an immigrant woman. See yourself as a woman who can contribute to an organization. When we talk about well-rounded, this is a perfect example. Bring your culture with you. Bring good lunch, because we like really good. I love when people bring different lunches. Bring your whole self. I don't think that this is something that should hold you back. I think this is something that should move you forward. You
Yeah.
have a lot of depth from your background. Bring it with you. What would you say, Tara?
Well, that and also just diversity. Variety is the spice of life, and it's so neat working at CGI and experiencing, such vast diversity across the different team members. And again, CGI is a global company, so not just for us in Western business area or even Canada, but globally. And working with people across CGI has been so interesting. And yeah, the skills and abilities that each individual brings are unique. And like we talked about, build up your skill set, find a superpower that you want to bring to the table that makes you unique, that brings value, and um, bringing your interpersonal skills and your experiences are part of that package deal. And that's the diversity that, really makes everything so much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. What's your backpack? What's your backpack full of? It's full of all kinds of experiences and cool things that you can bring. This is an advantage. This isn't a disadvantage. This is an advantage.
It's absolutely, yep, I love it.
Okay. Are you going to call it the questions? I'll be the
Yeah.
next one. You ready? Okay, because then you get to answer it first. How to sell transferable skills from other industries, especially if you have never worked in the same role before?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, if I'm understanding correctly, maybe this person is looking to apply for a role that they've never worked in, but they know they've got some skills that they can use in that role, but they have no actual, maybe tangible experience in that professional role, which I'll call a title. And it's interesting with work roles and titles. Um, they can show what that role is about, but it doesn't speak to all the aspects or skill sets that you would need to make you successful in that role. So I think for that question, what I would say is, look at the skill sets maybe on the non-technical side that you have that bring strength to to you being a good fit for the job and highlight those. I always know that in interviews and as you're looking at different roles at how you can speak to those strengths, like the situation, action, result, using some of that to put it into perspective of, yes, maybe you've never done coding in that technology. However, you perhaps did some coding in a different technology and used all of these other skills, organizational skills, Microsoft programs, using Excel, pivot tables, anything that could bring value that you can utilize in the role that you're seeking to get.
I would
Um,
say, I'm going to come back to, I'm on my soapbox again here. I would say figure out what you're good at. And those are probably the skills that you've got there, and figure out how you can apply them. So if I think about, I was good in the theater and now I can do presentations. So how do you take the skills you got and move them over into a different role? You just have to
yeah,
figure out how to sell it. As
yeah.
long as you know what you're good at, you can grow it.
And for us as women to be confident. I know there's stats
Yeah.
out there. I've heard interesting stories about how, we as women will only put our name forward or our resume in for a job if we meet, 100% of those criterias. Whereas, males on the other hand might meet 60% and they'll throw their name in the hat. So they're a little bit more risk taking. I think for us as women to be confident, recognize the skills and the value, and be more confident. I'm always trying to do that each day, to bring my best self to work and to be confident in doing that. So
And
um,
be happy. Be happy. If you're
just,
doing a job that makes you sad, like banking made me sad, don't do it. Don't do it. Find something that you get to do that you feel good about yourself when you do it. I mean, it's not going to be everything. I mean, you don't go to work every day and say, "Oh, I love my job." Usually, I do.
yeah.
There'll be good parts and bad parts, but the good parts absolutely have to outweigh the bad
So quick joke for you, Andrea. Why did the banker leave his job?
because he hated
He lost interest. That just popped into my head. Okay, let's get back to the questions.
it. Okay.
Um, this
How,
this is a good one for you, Andrea.
okay, I have to answer
Um,
this. Okay, you go.
yeah. How much time should you usually spend on learning while you are already balancing work, your family, your friends? How much
Oh,
time?
okay. Well, as women, this is easy because we're multitaskers. We're always doing 50 things at once, anyways. So this is more, when I read this question, learning, of course, is key. But when I read this question, how much time are you carving out for yourself in that day? Because you've got family, friends, the dog, the husband, you've got all those things. You need to find time in your day that's just for you. And I talked about at the beginning, yoga's my thing. And it's because that's an hour that the phone is off and I'm just focused on whatever it is that the instructor makes us do that day. So the same thing applies to learning. Figure out in your day what's important for you, and then that's how much time you need. It's how much
Yep.
time can you spare. It's we spend a lot of, for me, I spent a lot of dead time in the car driving my kids around or driving to work, and so that ended up being a place where I could learn. I think the key there is all the different ways you can learn. So the podcasts, if reading is boring to you, bring up webcasts at lunchtime and have your
Yep. Do it
lunch
on a walk.
webcast. Oh yeah,
You
yeah, do it on a walk.
Working in IT,
Exercise
we
and
sit.
learn.
Yeah. So being more active, I always say a healthy mind requires a healthy body, and
It
I
does.
still am working forever to achieve a good balance of healthiness across both of those
I don't think
spectrums.
you
But
ever figure it out, Tara. I
the
really.
audiobooks, plug in your phone, use an audiobook, go out for your walk. Try to find that time and be intentional about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this one's a good one for you. So ready? What if we did not plan well before a career break? Now that time has passed and you decide much later to get back into the workforce, what are your suggestions for that?
Oh, that's such a good question.
That's a
And
good question.
I think it comes back down to looking within. For me, if it had been a long time, if I didn't really, really have a platform that I had, hedged away or recorded before taking a career break, I think I would just start from the grassroots and what things make me happy. It could be like things like being outside or learning new technology, like whatever it is, and make a list of those. What are your values? What are your current skill sets? What do you think you're good at? Start looking at the market, what kind of jobs are in demand. You can, go online or, library resources, or start reaching out to people in that industry. There's other tools like LinkedIn and things. Even if you don't have a big network built, you can start perusing. You can start seeking out career professionals in areas that you might be interested in, and reach
Mhm.
out for a conversation. Ask them
Mhm.
about, their job, what they're liking, what they don't. There's realities and plus and minus, to almost everything in life. And it is really the mindset and how we look at it. In terms of, is this a door open? And to have that excitement, it can be scary. I can imagine. I've worked since I was 15. I've never not had a job in the last million years. So coming back into the workforce after an extended period away, I can imagine would be really daunting. But start doing your information gathering and start with yourself is what I would say. Anything that you think, Andrea, in addition to
Just
that?
scary. It's just scary. When you leave the workforce, it's really scary. Oh my gosh, can I ever make it back into the workforce? The answer is absolutely you can. And you'll probably be more successful than you ever thought you would.
Yep.
So to me, it's more figuring out what floats your boat. Like what is it that you really want? And the
Yep.
only way to do that is to, for me, it was information interviews. It was talking to people, just like Tara said. Oh, well, I don't know anybody. Well, ask other people and they'll tell you who you can talk to, and then have the courage to go and talk to people. Figure out
Yep.
what it is that you do well and apply it to whatever there is out there that's hot, and you'll get hired. But whatever you do, do something you care about, do something you like to do.
Yeah.
We
And on
work,
that note, I think we've
we're
done
that.
it, Andrea.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
we have reached the top of our time, and we do want
So
to quickly mention for everybody who's watching that there are more interesting sessions that people can register for, and they're on our website. And I think we're going to get the QR code here up on the screen. There it is. So you can use this QR code if you'd like to take a look and see what other sessions are being offered as part of the CGI Women in Tech Career Lab. But we really thank you, right, Andrea? This has been
yeah, this
fun.
was weird. It was fun. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, take good care and keep on learning.
Yep. Bye.
Thank you so much.